a lady came in and we sat down before she even got to go on the lot, and what are you looking for? Do you want? And she knew what kind of car, and I don't remember what it was, but let's just say she wanted a 2004 Corolla. So we've got three of them, and this one's a 2002, this one's a 2003, and this is a 2004, and I pull all three of them up to the door, but before I do it, I change the prices on all of them. I make them all $3,000 expensive. So we go out there, and I'm like, you know what? This is this one. This is that one. These are the differences. This is why they're about $1,000 more for each one. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'm in a hurry today. If you want to buy a car today, cha-cha, $3,000 discount across the board. What do you say? And she's just like, holy shit, you're just gonna rip $3,000 off? I was like, if we can do it right now, I gotta get out of here. I got a plane to catch. And I'm not going any fucking where.
I got to go to the LA Swindlers Convention.
but to his point, she was so happy with the deal she was getting and the quality of. She thought she just gotten a great deal, so she was very happy about everything. She loved me this whole way through. She's just like, this young man right here has it. He is a treasure. She's just tickled pink, and she's paid the sticker price. And we had a code built into our sticker prices where the last number in the price, let's say it's 19,991, it's going to be 991, 992, 993, or 994. And that last number is letting me know how much this car has been discounted. It probably came in and we put like $5,000 profit on it, or $4,000. And every time they discount the second number in the price, which is $1,000 off the price, they change the last number too, to give the salesman an idea of how many times it's been discounted. I know we've got at least $3,000 on the front end of each one of these cars, 3 or 4. So I'm doing pretty fucking well already. So she's paying $3,000 to $4,000 profit on the front end, but she thinks she just got $3,000 taken off. It kind of put that lady together a little bit. And then there was another lady.
You knocked her head off.
I knocked her head off.
Does knock your head off mean take advantage of someone?
No, not take advantage.
Make a ton of profit.
It means I did my job well that day.
Seems to mean both.
Potato.
But it's sales, I'm not going to judge.
I sold a lady a new Focus one time, and I got the sales sheet, and I sat down, and I started. Sometimes I'd get ahead of myself, and I would just see what I could do, because I feel like you can always ask forgiveness later. You can always say there was a mistake, or, oh, well, that's not supposed to say that, or, they expect the price to be a little iffy. So I just blacked out what my manager wrote, and I told her that it was an extra $2,000 as we sat down, and she agreed to it, and it was a new Focus. And I go back up there with a signature. My manager's like, did you just sell a Ford Focus at a premium? Did you just sell a Ford Focus for $2,000 over sticker price? I was like, I sold permaplate too. Which is this bullshit fabric. And
what is permaplate?
Permaplate was a lie. I was told we didn't even put it on the cars, but we would sell it for, I think, $695. And essentially it's a warranty against stains and like acid rain spots and bullshit like that. And I never saw anyone ever come in and be like, hey, I bought the permaplate, stain right here in my seat, fix it. Never happened once. But for $695, we would sell that stuff to you. And I had this whole kit on my desk where I'd stain a little swatch of fabric, and I'd spray some shit on it, just wipe it right off, coffee or whatever. Usually coffee, because we got the coffee maker right there. I'd just pour the coffee on it, be like, this has permaplate on it. This doesn't. And that would sell people for $700 of just extra gross. So like I sold her so high over sticker that they wouldn't even finance it at that. Like, she got into finance, and they were like, the financial institution says, this is too much for this car. Like she's going to owe so much more than this car is worth on day one. Like, they won't even do it. And I'm like, we'll find out exactly what they will do.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to come in and be like, you know what? You're the 100th customer. Holy shit. This happens once a month, but $1,100 discount. And she's just like, oh, Mr. Kyle, I am so my lucky day, new car, 100th customer. Oh, she was so happy. She was so happy. That was the same lady who told me, she was like, it was nearing Christmas, and she had a kid with her.
In this story, she's gone from Little House on the Prairie to Kimmy's Vietnamese mom.
Oh no, this is a little Spanish lady.
Okay.
Yeah, and she had her little kid with her, and she said something along the lines of, "But if I pay this much for the car, there can be no Christmas for the children." And I said, "What's a better Christmas gift than a brand new car?" Looking at the kid, I was like, "Don't you want a new car?"
I know
You
when
like
I was
the
a
blue?
kid, if my mom had a Focus, it would make Christmas.
Yeah.
I was like, we talked about that Ford safety sensing system, didn't we? It's going to weigh little Javier and make sure those airbags come out just the right speed. Don't forget, you want to keep his little noggins. And yes,
But Mama, I wanted the Super Soaker this year.
shut up, Javier. I gave you candy. Javier was sold, though. You know, it went well. That was one of my favorite moments. Just couldn't. My manager's face when I sold that, and I did that also on like the most undesirable car of all time. The it was the Ford
CrossFit?
500.
It was like a freestyle, I think. It was the 500 wagon, essentially. It was on like this Volvo chassis that was like lumbering, and it was hideous. It was in this green color too, like this pea green puke.
Rare color.
It was
It
was awful. It was awful. And this British guy came in, and I must have
Racing color of the UK.
Hello, sir. This seems to compliment my teeth.
Jesus Christ.
And like I would always get real hyped up when I sold cars. I would drink a lot. I was drinking a lot of Red Bull. I would go to the gas station. I'd buy 4 Red Bulls, and I would take like those giant like 40-ounce cups they have, and I'd dump them all in there, and I'd chug it down, and I'd start my day. I wanted to be wired because the guy who trained me was like that. He was this very high energy black guy, and he was loud and boisterous, and he's like, "We're gonna do a car deal today." It was a show and a dance. And I tried to emulate that as like a 19-year-old white boy. And so I did. And so I'm just, when this guy expressed interest in this disgusting car that we all hated and knew was going to be discontinued at any moment, I was like, well, you better snatch this thing up, sir. You better snatch it up quick, because this thing car right here, especially in this color, the lime vomit green color, oh, it is desirable. I've had 3 calls today. I got appointments all weekend. We really need to get this thing wrapped up this week. And he's like, well, I guess I should head on over to the credit union and get a check forthwith. And he does. And I was like, well, we need to work out a price before you can go get your credit union check, you know? And I did the same thing. I bumped the price $2,000, just scribbled it out and wrote it and sold a Ford's most disgusting car of all time, perhaps, at a premium. And I just remember my manager being like, you fucked up for this one. I would never do no shit like this to somebody. You fucked up for this one. I sign off on it. But finance ain't gonna do it. I'm like, he's got a credit union. He's like, oh fuck. All right. I'm signing off on it. My hands are washed.
So Ed, do you get fools like that? You're selling exotic cars. I imagine you have clients with expertise coming in, no?
Some do, yeah, sure. But like, for instance, you're talking about how much a bank will finance on a car. A lot of times, banks in general will finance about 110% of MSRP. And so they're planning on some taxes, maybe a little bit of negative equity, maybe some, perma-stain junk, put on there. And then they kind of know they're playing ball with the dealers. And as long as nobody tries to sell a car rather immediately, owing 110% of MSRP is a bad idea, but not something that, could not be overcome if they own the car 2-3 years and they come try to trade.
Mm-hmm.
However, if there is a gigantic rebate on the car, especially early on before they figure out that's a big liability they've got, it can be a massive problem. So we set the Cannonball record in October of 13. We got the McLaren franchise in about September. So we had just gotten them. And whenever you take on a new franchise, particularly as an exotic store, you agree to take on a ton of inventory that is unsellable. Like it has the wrong options. It's just the worst stuff. They usually have 1 or 2 cars. So it's not like it's a 500 wagon that nobody wants. I mean, they want the cars, but they didn't want that one because it has like a stupid cost for some option that nobody cares about. So we had 21 2014 McLaren 12C Spiders in stock. and they'd already announced the replacement, and there was a $60,000 rebate on them, as I recall.
How much
No,
are they?
They're 300 grand. No, so I had about no, it was a 40 grand rebate and maybe a little bit more if we needed it. Like it's kind of a flexible rebate, but it was at least 40. So I had 30 grand in markup. So I had about $70,000 to $80,000 to discount these cars, and I could finance about 330. So it was one of those things where, as everybody was calling me, congratulating me, asking me about the record, like talking about that, I was like, well, hey, what do you think you owe on whatever? Like, and it didn't matter. Like, literally, I could bury at least $100,000 of negative equity on a car. And so if they wanted a different car, you could always do the deal. But of course, the cars weren't worth what I was selling them at. Like, I mean, you had to try to sell them. And they were paying us a $6,000 flat to sell each of them. And I sold 20 out of the 21. And every one of the guys, like, you couldn't answer their phone calls anymore because they're so upside down. I mean, like, you could never trade them because it was impossible. But yeah, made a lot of money that month.
Do you ever did you ever sell used inventory?
Tons, yeah, absolutely. About like 70 or 80% used.
You ever have customers come back and serious issues with the car, and you know that, like, it's not, you're not the dealer, but you sold them a car with some serious issues and feel bad about it?
Yeah, but generally I could essentially, at that point, I'm more on the customer side because I have to maintain the relationship. So I'm trying to convince the dealer to take care of it. And in most cases they would. Like, bad reviews are expensive. I mean, if you're at a Ford store,
not so much.
They don't care.
Yeah.
When I bought my 300 like 9 years ago, whatever it was, like, I went, and before I got the black one, I had a navy blue one very briefly. And I went in and I got it, and I drove it off the lot to a friend's house because I had plans to hang out that day, whatever summer it was. And I get there, and I get out, hang out with my friends for a couple hours.
Used car, Taylor?
It's a used car, yeah. And I come back, hop in it, back out of their driveway, and start to drive away, and it like starts gassing and steaming and smoking immediately, and the car just will not run. Like, it's just making a bunch of weird noises, and I'm not car savvy enough to know, so I just get out of it after it's like totally died and just have to call them and be like, hey, you know that car I bought at noon today? Yeah, there's gas and smoke and stuff pouring out of it. This is fucking ridiculous. I want a new car, a different one of these at a discount. And so I went back and got like the V8 Hemi version for a slightly cheaper price, which has actually cost me a lot more money in the long run with gas.
Yeah, for sure. I sold a lady a convertible Mustang one time, a used one, and she was very happy. But then she's always calling me, like the sunroof, the roof leaks, and I'm just like, well, bring it in and talk to the manager. I was like, I can't do anything about it. I'm sorry that it leaks. And she's like, and it makes this awful noise on the highway. And I'm like, again, you have to come in and talk to Dimitri about that, because that's not my area of expertise. He's the used car guy.
It sounds like someone's kicking and screaming in the trunk.
She comes in, and I'm like, Dimitri, the lady with the Mustang's here, the one that the leaky sunroof and the one that makes the noise. And he comes over, and she's like, yeah, whenever I get above 80 on the highway, it just makes this awful noise. And he goes, ma'am, speed limit is 70 miles per hour. Stay below 70, you'll have no trouble. I'm just sitting there like, he's got a good point.
I like to think that doesn't fly at the McLaren dealership.
Well, so we had as carbon ceramic brakes have become standard equipment on so many cars. Carbon ceramic brakes squeak really badly if you don't use them up to temperature. So if you just drive it like a normal car and not like a race car, it can be extremely loud when you try to brake. And the only way to fix it is to go really fast and brake really hard. And so we would sell these guys these cars, and a week later they come in and they're like, especially on Ferrari Californias for some reason, because people buy them to drive them more like Mercedes or BMWs. And so they would bring them back in and say, oh, the brakes squeak so bad, I feel like I need them. And literally every time they just throw me the keys, and I would be like, distract this dude for a little bit. And I would go out and do our test drive lap and just run it up to 150 miles an hour. And you can't stomp on the brakes. You have to very aggressively and firmly apply them. And you don't need to stop all the way, but if you just brake down to like 50 and then accelerate back up and then brake hard down to 50, it'll scuff off the top of the pad and it'll work just fine.
That sounds like a good time. Is it a good time or does that wear out?
No, because you kind of like at that point, like if you get pulled over going 150 miles an hour, doing your standard procedure of doing, like, they didn't care. It was not a big deal.
Like, if you asked me to do that, that might be the coolest thing I do this month, right? but if you do it a lot, like it's work, right? It's the job.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And I mean, we still had to sell cars that were like in weird situations. Like we had one guy, McLaren's. There's about a 100% chance that they will break in the first week that someone owns one, and we had a guy who complained enough that we ended up essentially creating a deal where he got a different new one. We didn't really lemon law the car, but it had enough issues that we just let him have another one. But he put like 300 miles on it, but the warranty was started. They call that being punched. And so it was kind of punched as a demo in inventory for a little while. But I sold it to this guy who, for tax purposes, like had to buy an untitled car. And I had been told by the general manager that did the deal to get the car back that it had not been titled. It was still absolutely a brand new car. But what had happened was they had titled it initially in another state. And he had made our title clerk contact that state on a daily basis, pull the title out, and essentially rip up the new title that was made so that it could stay new and he wouldn't have to sell it as a used car, which is like super illegal. And I sell the car in good faith saying, look, I've been told by the person who did the deal that it is absolutely a new car. And in his head it was, but since that title was created and printed, not in 1948, but in 2014 or 15, it absolutely showed up. So this guy starts to find some issues with his car and he decides to pull a Carfax on it. And it shows like a title issued in another state at a lower mileage, and he freaks out. And I tell him, like, look, there's only two possible explanations for this. I said, the first is that we are the most dishonest people that have ever walked the earth.
Ding, ding, ding.
And I said, but the second option is we are absolute morons and don't know what we're doing. And I want to make sure that you understand before we talk any further that it is the second option. And we don't have a clue. And so we ended up kind of essentially doing the same thing again, giving him another new car in exchange for that one. But the title clerk was like, she came up to me during the deal and said, do whatever he wants because I am not testifying on this one. Okay.
I am not taking the word of any car salesman after this discussion. I'm going to always assume the duplicitous angle, I think.
Well,
I think Woody's on the same page.
Well, you get asked to do stuff that, because you're kind of like the hired gun as the sales guy. You're beholden to your bosses to do what they tell you to. Like I mentioned before that my general manager crashed a car running through a stoplight that he didn't know was red. Well, that wasn't a car we owned at the time. I was trying to sell a Nissan GTR to a repeat customer I'd done a ton of business with, was a really nice guy. And he was trading a C63 Mercedes. And so generally the sales manager or the general manager would take it for a ride around the block, especially if it's out of warranty, see if there's any lights on, any misalignment or anything, just kind of look at the car to appraise it. So I'm in the process of talking to this guy and I see across the showroom, another one of my sales guys answers the phone and I just hear his side of the conversation. Obviously he goes, oh no. He says, are you okay? And I go, oh, darn it. And so I was like, I tell this guy, give me a second. I'm going to walk in here. And I saw him also beelining into the sales manager's office that was going to kind of tell us what to do. And he says, all right, so-and-so just crashed the car. It is 100% totaled. He's going to be in an ambulance on the way to the hospital. So my sales manager could have said, all right, let's go tell this guy what's happened to his car and we'll work out something that's very reasonable. We'll take full responsibility. That's not what he said. He goes, Ed, sell that car in the next 5 minutes before he wonders where his trade is. And I'm like, well, I mean, this guy normally takes like 3-4 hours to negotiate a car deal. So I go, well, that sounds like a fun game to play. I'll go do it. And I did it. I talked him into it. And so finally he's like, all right, I'm going to go start getting some stuff out of my car. I was like, you know what? Nope. We're going to have a porter do that. Don't you worry about your old car. I'll get your plate, everything off of it. He's like, yeah, all right. Well, my golf clubs are in the truck. I'm like, okay, all right. So we get out there. Trunk is like demolished. It's just like, I'm like, you know what? I think we're going to bring those to you tomorrow. I'm not sure they fit in the GTR's trunk. And he's like, okay. So, and finally, like it takes, we eventually tell him that, hey, so-and-so crashed your car. He's fine. Everybody's fine ish. And it's yours. And he was actually really worried that it was like going to undo the deal at that point because he'd become very excited about his new car. So it worked quite well. Like he stayed very happy with the whole thing, but I guess there was some leverage he didn't get to use against us.
You guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe we're not trustworthy people.
I keep thinking about, I am a sheep, a lamb in this world.
You are a lemming, sir.
Yeah.
Following the likes of Kyle and Ed off the price cliff.
You're selling a product, right? You're selling a product. The sticker price is there. It's not like we're going above. Well,
no. I'm like, from a
Sometimes.
sales perspective, I've got a lot of respect for this. This is really intense stuff. But you always hear this stuff about car salesmen and the whole industry of car sales, and then to hear it firsthand, it's like, oh wow, like a lot of those aren't myths.
It's mostly like the ever used cars though, unless the person's really dumb. Because used cars, they don't know what you took the car in on. You may have bamboozled the person who traded that car in, and so if you can double bamboozle, if you can bamboozle the guy who buys it, then you could make a $12,000 profit. Maybe you gave the guy $6,000 less than what the trade-in was made, and then you sell it for $6,000 more than it's worth, and you can really go to town. I did that once with an excursion. Like when I took it down on trade, I was like, man, look at the gas prices out there. And this was like 2005. Gas was maybe close to $4 a gallon in Atlanta. It was like, look at the gas prices. This thing, you got a V10 excursion here. And that's not even the desirable one. Just really downselling the thing. But then when I go to sell it, this is a premier vehicle. You got the V10. All right, that's the good one.
It's the biggest number.
It's more V's than anything else. Yeah,
this is literally
It's the most
largest
V's
SUV.
you could get.
This is literally the largest SUV ever made by a man. All right, they're discontinued. That's how big they are. You can fit a smart car in the back hatch of this truck. Okay,
These are so popular, they're discontinuing them.
And that was all true.
This green Ford that I think you
that's
linked,
the
Kyle.
one.
Yeah.
That is horrific.
This,
Yeah, that's the one.
the Griswolds
I had-
would buy this thing.
That looks like a
one
very
hell of a-
British car to drive for a Ford, though.
He
so it
loved
fits
it. He loved it so much.
yeah.
He came back and bought another car from me after that. He was so pleased. He brought his wife. Like they loved me to death. And I had a good sales pitch for that car. Like just talking about the Volvo chassis and comparing Ford to Volvo for some reason as far as safety, just drawing a parallel there. And I've gone through my bullshit like walk around speech, that I did on every single car that was identical in every
This one
single
comes
car.
with the Kevlar belts.
Yeah. These fan belts are made out of Kevlar, the same stuff that make bullet. They are all made out of Kevlar.
You could probably tell people that the windows on their car are bulletproof.
right. How are they going to go test it?
How are they going to
Yeah.
know? If someone tries to shoot them while they're in there, problem solved. Ostensibly, because it's not
Yeah.
bulletproof.
Yep, exactly.
I just want to hear how badly I screwed up. All right. Last year, I bought a Ford F-150. It's a nice one. It's the Platinum, right? So it's like the second highest level. And
Gangsta.
say that again?
Gangsta.
Oh yeah, okay. So I don't know how much to pay for it. I don't like, it's not my area of expertise. I don't know. So I pull up Edmunds and it says like what people are paying for it. And I'm like, all right, so this is it. I punch in all the items. It says this number is what a good deal is. And they make it. And then I get like $2,000 off of that because there's like some rebates and stuff. Lamb dealing with wolves did okay, somewhere in between.
Yeah, no, I mean, if you're below because those are usually consumer reported values saying like this is what I was able to negotiate. A lot of them actually do a tremendous amount of work in dollars that don't matter because they're going to own the car for forever. So yeah, I mean, I would imagine you were within what was possible. Now, there's always the rumors that it's best to buy at the end of the month, in the quarter, into that stuff. Like that is 100% true. Like the deals that are available then can be a lot more aggressive because a lot of the money is conditional based on volume. So the rebates they can get are a lot more, have some sensitivity there. They're much more motivated, and they will they will lose money on a car. Like you hear, we're losing money on it. Like that's 100% true. Like they are in that deal losing money. Now it's still a calculated business decision, and you should assume, as most do, like there's something else in it for them, but that doesn't mean it's like right there, easy to get.
Yeah,
and they're
I've
not like in
explained
the
that a few
truest
times.
sense losing money. Like that's still turned.
Well, they're
off
losing
of their
money on that
lot for
individual
inventory.
car.
On that individual one, but it's opening up more space on the lot for another car.
Well, what
Like
it's
you're
doing
getting
in our
turned.
case, a lot of the times our managers had bonuses based on volume, and
Mhm.
like the GM is like, we've sold 497 cars this month. At 500, I get $10,000. So let's crank 3 out in the next 2 hours. Figure it out, and
Don't lose a deal.
Yeah, and they'll lose a couple $1,000s to sell a car.
Well, see, the manager that was there while I had the rental car company here in Atlanta was paid on a net profit plan. All right. So whatever profit was reported at the end of the month, he got a percentage of that. And the vulnerability there is that as you inflate the profits by putting more money in the trades, because let's say he talked about an under allowance. All right. If the car's worth 10 grand and I show you 8, essentially I've made $2,000 because you didn't get all your car is worth. And if I put it on my books at what it's really worth at 10 grand, then I've got 2 more grand to assign to this transaction. So he was overvaluing the trades. If it was worth 10, he was calling them worth 15. And these numbers, we're not talking about 10 or 15 grand. We're talking about 180,000 versus 250,000. And so I came in and I would look through deals where they had traded, where they sold cars that I was then trying to trade in, and they would have lost $40,000 or $50,000 after they realized that in doing that he had stolen like $2 or $3 million from the store in inflated profits that weren't that real.
Yeah, that's pretty shady. That's criminal.
Yeah, it didn't work out well for him.
I wouldn't think so. Don't do that. My manager was a bit of a criminal himself. He had a different business before he went into car sales, and it was very much an illegal one. But
still sales? Am I getting the vibe right?
Still sales.
Yeah,
though.
right. I think even I'm up to speed.
It was so fucked up because as his friends who had all taken the rap for him, this is like an episode of The Wire. As each of his friends would get out of prison they had all taken the rap, he would hire them as salesmen. So like, there's Garrett over there. He doesn't sell a lot of cars, but he gets a lot of cheese deals. It seems like anytime a rapper comes in and needs 5 Dodges, even though we don't sell Dodge here, 5 new Dodges show up and Garrett gets to write those deals up. And there's Greg over there. They make Greg a manager already. Huh.
Now Greg doesn't speak English.
Right.
And
Greg is ambition.
Greg is like, I was running the cook. He told me that was private.
Really?
Yeah. He was like, I was running the cook. And Garrett over there, he was muscle. And I'm just like, what the fuck kind of place is this? Why am I feel like I'm the only one around here who's just selling cars, and that's all.
That's why you were such a favorite. It's like, now Kyle, that's the kind of guy you don't owe prison favors to.
It was ridiculous because there were
Latrice is only here because he stopped me from getting raped in the shower.
Yeah, that's literally the case. Garrett had been in jail so long he'd become a black Muslim. He's over there with his Quran over there. I'm just like.
Did he get to wear that cool ass like white sheet with the little helmet? Like
nah, he didn't take it.
That looks so comfortable. I'm so jealous of Saudi Arabians that they get to just go around like that.
It was still only like 4 years after 9/11, so everybody was a little sensitive about that sort of thing. We had those 2 Somalian guys One of them's name was Moses, which is fine. You know, you can be Moses in Atlanta, and everybody will buy from you, especially with that snappy African accent. The other's name was Muhammad, and Muhammad went by Mo. And Mo was a real friendly guy, and he loved to joke about that shit. He was like, "Have you ever seen Black Hawk Down?" And I'm like, yeah, that was me with the RPG. And I'm like,
Today we are blowing up prices. It is going to be so good you want to kill yourself.
we have declared jihad on Chevrolet.
We have declared a jihad on high prices.
We are slashing them.
Jesus Christ.
We are cutting the clit off of our profit margin.
We have genital.
How do you top cutting the clit off the profit margin? I think that might be where.
Yeah, those guys were fucking ridiculous. But yeah, that was definitely the case. And so we all hated them. We all hated them because. And 1 month they had it in that they were going to make Garrett salesman of the month, which was a big deal. I don't
Is there
remember
money
the
with
bonus.
that or prestige?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Mostly prestige though. That's
Really?
what I liked
You're
about it.
less likely to be fired the next month.
Oh, it was hard to get fired. I can go into that for a while, but it was hard. They would just quit, because they're paying you commission against your hours. You would go in the bucket, and you would owe them. They don't give a fuck if you sit at one of those desks. There's plenty of desks. Have a seat, young man. Go for it. But to make Garrett salesman of the month, it was the fix was in. They just feeding him. Just in one day, 6 cars, and like it was that instance I mentioned a minute ago.
Is salesman of the month just tied into sales, or is it like a judgment call?
It's how many cars you got out.
The volume.
So he's earned salesman of the month, except they're all cheese deals, which means they just he doesn't have to.
They've been given to him. He's filling out
They're
paperwork.
negotiated by management. He gets to do the paperwork, and he gets the little bit of profit that gets assigned to them. But more importantly, he gets the units, which is how you're evaluated.
Yeah, and his commission is rising on each one. So you might get 20%. You might get like 20% commission if you sell one car, but by the time you get to 20, you might be getting 38% or 40% commission on these things. It works out really nicely if you can get out 20 fucking cars. It's hard to do that though unless you're being fed. And so like Young Jeezy, the rapper, comes in and he wanted 5.
A lot of rappers in these stories.
And
I don't know any of them. What did you say, Ed? I talked over you.
Lil Hoodlum.
You're better off for not having to deal with him.
With Young Jeezy. Well, he came in.
Sounds like Ed knows Young Jeezy as well.
He's a little fella.
Yep, they're all
That's so
little.
funny.
All of them. All
You
of
guys
them.
both know Young
You call him
Jeezy and
Little
Busta
Jeezy.
Rhymes.
I could have beat the shit out of Young Jeezy with one arm tied behind my back at 19 years old, and he was a grown ass man. Just little punk dude.
Yeah.
Anyway, he wanted 5 Chargers, I think. The Challenger wasn't a thing yet, so the Charger was like the cool Dodge, and I think you could get him with like a big engine in him, maybe a 6-liter or something like that. In any case, he wanted 5 of these things, one for each of his guys, and he wanted them all the same. So we lost him.
Oh, we lost him.
Yeah,
So
I want him to
Young
hit the story.
Jeezy looks kind of tough and badass in it. I assume
He may have
Jeezy.
bulked up in the last 15 years.
Well, since 2004,
And he's
things
worth
could have
15
happened.
million. Dude, you should. I'm going to link this guy. I hope this works for you.
You're good. He's saying that Young Jeezy has bulked up in the interim period of time.
Dude, look at him. This guy looks
He's
like
gotten bigger.
he
All right,
would
he's
kick
gotten
my
bigger.
ass. This
He
guy.
didn't look like that. I promise you.
Uh-huh.
I'll take Young Jeezy, and I haven't even seen the photo.
I linked it.
He could total a Lamborghini with the best of them. I can tell you that much.
Okay.
Yeah, he killed
He's
one.
5'9". Yeah, that's what I thought.
5'9" celebrity height is like 5'7" real person height.
He's a little guy. I'm telling you, he's
Okay.
a little dude. Like we were all taking note of it. His boys were large gentlemen, though.
Do they just look big next to him?
No, they looked big next to a Durango.
Okay. Okay.
They looked big because they were fucking big. And I want 5 of these, and we're a corporate store, so we've got every make and model. He just calls the Dodge dealership and gets 5 of these things brought over and sells. And Garrett just doing the paperwork. And we hated this. And I can't think of his name, but it was the African guy who got the car stolen that time. He had the most cars. He maybe had 18. I maybe had 13, and Garrett had like, I don't know, 19 or something. It was like neck and neck. And so I was like, we're not going to have this, dude. We're not going to have this. Saturday's coming up. They're really going to have to feed him because I'm splitting every car I do for the rest of the month with you. And so because I can get my half unit. My other buddy's like, me too. Let's fucking do this. They want to play dirty. We're playing dirty. And nobody's taking note of what we're doing. You know, we just fill out the paperwork, put 2 names on it, and it goes in the system.
So why is that good, right? Like you're getting half a unit instead of a whole unit. Like,
yeah, I'm losing money.
Not just money, but even units, right? When you split a deal, do you both get a unit?
We get half a unit.
So I don't know why.
This is mostly spite driven.
This is spiked.
I don't see how it even makes the numbers bigger. Because when you sell a car, you only get half.
He gets 0.5 every time I sell a car.
And
I'm going to sell
his own cars.
Oh, wait.
So, yeah, if
you're not doing it for you. You're just doing it to hook up your friend. He's not splitting with you, too.
Yeah, no, he's not.
It's a reverse big score.
Yeah,
I understand.
I'm hooking him up with half of everything I do.
I thought
so
you were
is my
both
buddy
splitting.
Saul. So Saul and I are like, let's fucking do this. Let's fucking go hard in the paint here. And we each get out like 6 more cars or something in the last couple days, and 6 more cars go on to our buddy's record. And so CJ, it comes time to count up the cars and figure out who's the salesman of the month. You know, it's rolled over, and we've got these big meetings in the morning, and there's 25 salesmen and 4 or 5 managers, and this is the meeting where money gets literally thrown in the air and cash wads of cash get tossed around. Not like thousands of dollars, but hundreds of dollars.
You get a 20. You get a 20.
It'd be wads of ones a lot of the times, you know, just to get the crowd fired up.
To get you excited because it looks like a lot. Yeah.
He's announcing bonuses for like X amount of units and you know all this time-based stuff and all these ways that.
Is he doing like the Wolf of Wall Street, like moonwalking across the stage, like getting everybody hyped up, like pulling women's tits out?
I mean, not none of that, but he's getting us fired up, and he's being mean to the people who are underperforming. Like he's shitting on some people, he's pumping other people up, and he's throwing cash money, and he's like, and who was salesman of the month last month? Let's see it, and you can tell like he thinks it's Garrett, and they're like. Garrett with 19 cars. All right, very nice. And I can't think of the other guy's name, but let's just call him Pete, even though he's from Africa. That was not his name.
Bunte, yeah.
Pete had 24 out of Pete in August. Let's hear it for Pete. And he's like, wait, what the fuck? Garrett, you didn't get the most out? What the fuck happened, Garrett? What the fuck happened? Look, man, you know, I gave you 15. So you only sold 4 cars like on your own in 30 days.
I love that he's shitting on number 2 in this situation.
Yeah, well, it was like
because he wouldn't have been a
his
natural
buddy.
number 2.
I get it. That's why I love it. Yeah.
The guy that gave away half his own deals, right? that flies. Like we're not worried about that.
I still ended up with like 16 or something, giving away 3 cars or something like that. I had a great month too, and Saul had we were doing well, you know, and you know my buddy gave me some cash to make up for those deals afterwards, and took me out for drink. That wasn't agreed upon going in. That wasn't like, all right, you give me money and I give you cars. There was no deal like that.
This isn't fraudulent.
No, it really it wouldn't be fraudulent even if it were agreed upon because it's some sort of salesman's race and it's all like just a gentleman's bet in most regard, really. But afterwards he was like, that was cool, guys. That was really cool. And he took us out for drinks. He gave me a couple $100.
Is it fraudulent if a customer takes out a life insurance policy on you?
Yeah.
I didn't know
if they kill you.
You're right. Yeah. He didn't do that.
A customer took out a life insurance policy on you?
He sold life insurance and he calls me one day and he goes, Ed, how healthy are you? And I said, I didn't die yet today. And he said, I send somebody to take some blood. Yeah, I guess you bought a lot of Lamborghinis. I'm in the yes part of our relationship right now. And he bought a huge term life insurance or whole life insurance policy, the expensive kind. And I was like, and he's like, I'll send you money every month to pay it, but I get enough of a bonus to make it worth. And it was a lot. It was like $400 or $500 a month that he had to send me to pay the premiums for this thing that he had sold.
That's awesome.
Well, he got
I
such a
didn't
big
have
bonus,
to do
it was
any
worth it.
medical tests. to
I
get life
literally
insurance.
thought it was the other way. He was like, you know what? This guy goes to 150 and hits the brake a lot. I'm going to roll the dice that one of these times the brakes don't work. You know, it's like betting at the casino.
Yeah, there was definitely a time when I wouldn't have been surprised if someone had made me that same offer. You know, like how healthy are you? I mean, I don't really know. I'll go to the doctor. Well, let's try it. But they said I'm going to send someone to take blood. That's always a big no for me because I always turn that down. You know, whenever asked for blood, unless there's a court order, I always say
your
no.
DNA is top secret. Is that the
or is it a needle thing?
It's I don't give my blood out to people who just want it for no. What do you mean? Is it? Can I have some of your blood, Taylor?
Yeah.
No.
Of course you can't. Of course
not?
If you had said a magic word, I would have said yes.
Is that word please?
Right.
May
Could
I
I
please have
please
some
have
of your
some
blood, Taylor?
blood,
Of
Taylor?
course. I'll have a quart in
Just
the mail
enough
tomorrow.
to sustain me for a bit longer.
A quart of blood. Can you imagine if I shipped you just a quart of blood in an old milk container? That would.
We had.
I want to know. Go ahead, Kyle.
I was going to say we had. You had a story about people like coming into the dealership at night and stealing rims, and another one about some stains that was appearing on the car. I thought both those were interesting. The only experience, and I'd love for you to tell that
one first.
Yeah, the stain one for sure first. My experience with anything like that was homeless men were coming in the winter and sleeping in the inventory.
Is that a soup kitchen, according to that Wahlberg movie?
We used to joke about that. They were not making soup kitchens, but they were sleeping in them, and you could tell like that they had been slept in. I want to say a guy got caught sleeping in the car or something like that. You know, come in at 8 a.m. or whatever, and there's a hobo sleeping in the Tahoe. So it became then it's on us as salesmen to go around at night and lock every fucking car in its 14-acre lot. It's hundreds and hundreds of pieces.
It's a huge store.
It's a huge store, and we hated it. We hated these hobos so much. To this day, I have a hatred for homeless people that is solely about that. I joke about them all the time on the show. And people think I'm mean about it. This is why. This story right here. They were coming in, sleeping in the car, sneaking them up. And so then we had to go, like, it's closing time. It's time for me. I should be on my way home. But no, I have to go out and lock every single fucking truck. Well, they came, I guess, and it was cold. You know, they came and they tried to click. They're looking for a truck to hide in. Well, we had golf carts to get around the lot. It was a really big lot, and someone had left a golf cart out. This was a problem.
Did they sleep in a golf cart? How's that even helpful?
Oh, they did not sleep in the golf cart.
Okay.
The lot is on a bit of a hill. Nothing crazy steep, but it's definitely on a slope.
Were they fucking in it?
No. They got in the golf cart. They got it up to maximum speed heading down the hill, and then they jumped out and let it crash right into a brand new vehicle.
Hilarious. They're winning me over.
And we took that as a response to us locking the cars because it happened shortly after we locked all the cars. We figured that
bleeding all over the car.
It's much better than bleeding all over the cars. But so then the rule is the golf carts all have to be parked inside at night. So these guys are just making all kinds of extra work for us. You had an excreter though.
I hope Kyle mentioned homeless men coming in his story. I hope it's an Ed's too. Carry on.
I don't know the living arrangement this guy enjoyed, but we had a guy. This would probably have been like 2011 or 12, and we were just finding. We have to wash the cars all the time because even though they're all worth a lot of money, we don't have enough showroom space to keep them all inside, and so we kept having them. They'd be clean, but there'd be this like sappy residue on the hoods, usually like right around the hood emblems. And we couldn't really figure it out, but it would happen like we were trying to move them away from trees, but it was very like spot on, like the center of the hood or front of the bumper. And the detailers would have to grab 2 or 3 of them each day and take them back and clean them off. And one of the dudes came to me one day and was like, Ed, I think that's urine we're having to clean off these cars. And I'm like, well, man, it is kind of yellowish, whatever, but that seems absolutely preposterous that we would be having urine spontaneously occurring on the hoods of cars. And so we ended up going back through the security footage, which was, like it was still like it's terrible, terrible resolution. But we see this guy in a trench coat in the middle of the night, walking from car to car and standing in front of it for a second and then taking a camera phone picture and then moving to the next one. And it demonstrated phenomenal prostate control because he was urinating a little bit on one and then moving along to the next. But it didn't seem like urine because it was so like sappy and disgusting. And so we called the cops. We're like, have you heard of this happening? And they're like, no, but that's really weird. And we would very much like to catch the person and get to
We've
talk
got
to them
our own
about it.
orange sap problem. Funny you ask.
So I was not like trying to do a cardio or something, and our general manager comes walking across the showroom floor, and he's on his phone. He goes, Ed, he's back. And he'd gotten bold. He came during the day to do this, and I see a dude kind of wandering across. So I call the chief of police because literally the police station's across the road from the dealership. So we let him borrow cars for parades and stuff like that. We had a good relationship. So they come guns a-blazing. They yell, he's like, you found the urine bandit? They had assigned him a name internally.
Hell yeah.
And so they, like, the ones that were in their cars came lights on across the street, and they chased him down behind the neighboring, like, laundromat, pool hall, pizza place. And some of them were on foot. Like, they shut down the road to come chasing this guy. And they caught him. And he was, I'm sure they yelled, you're in trouble now.
Yeah.
I just remembered this story. I hadn't thought about this in so long. There's a lot of turnover in sales, in the sales department, of course. And so, it was almost like being in a unit in Vietnam. You didn't want to befriend the new guy too much because he might not be around too long,
Because his name's handwritten on a business card.
Yeah.
And don't trust the Vietnamese prostitute.
I gotta scratch a paper here,
Right.
and the people that you had been working with for a while, you felt like you were part of the original unit or whatever. Well, these new guys came and they were hardworking, and they
It
were
was like Band of Brothers. We're like, we didn't want to get too close to him because we just tore me up to see him get killed.
That's right. That's exactly. It's a rough business, and but these guys moved down, and they had formerly worked in like insurance or something. They were young guys. They were like my age, maybe a couple years older, 23, something like that, and they were hard workers, and that was getting them through. One more so than the other. I wish I could remember their names well. I think it was Kyle and Travis actually, and Kyle's doing real well. Travis was not, and they even looked their level of success. Kyle looked smart, had his head shaved, his glasses were nice. He always wore a dress shirt and a tie, and Travis was slovenly, like he was a little overweight, and his beard was always unkempt, and he was struggling real bad. He was still on an air mattress because he couldn't afford to get his shit out of storage back in Pennsylvania. So like they auctioned it all off while he's in Atlanta. So he's living on a goddamn air mattress. But he fucked a girl on that air mattress one night, and I told him that was one of the most incredible accomplishments in fuckery I'd ever seen. Like I've gotten some girls, but I've never been able to fuck one on a fucking air mattress. Like you brought her back and she didn't just walk right out. Like, nope, she was down. That thing went flat about halfway through too. But anyway, he takes a car back to get it detailed. He miraculously sold a car, and a homeless man is back there. He's not supposed to be back there. It's very much a fenced-in area. It's like back behind our service department, far away from the showroom floor. And the homeless man tries to rob him. He has nothing. He has nothing on him. And he's like, I don't have anything, man. And the guy poked him with a little penknife. Like, I say poked because it certainly wasn't a stab wound. He got poked him. He poked him. It was like something from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia when they're at the carnival and that guy just like stabs. He stabbed him, but it was a bullshit stab. Like he's like, he stabbed me.
Yeah.
And I hear coming over the radios. The place is so big. There's radios everywhere. I don't carry a radio, but the managers all have them, and you can hear the radios nearby. Travis has been stabbed back behind and I'm just like, what the fuck? And like I've got a gun, so I'm so get the gun, fucking throw it into my suit jacket. We get on the golf cart. We drive fucking back there. Nobody's back there. This guy's made his escape. He's over the fences, and once you're over that fences, he's in friendly territory. Let's just put it that way. We're not venturing. That's the DMZ over there. If we're in Nam, like he's made it into Laos. Okay, like we can't go over there. We won't come back unscathed. And but he's fucking poked like in his palm, like he tried to defend himself, and the guy stuck him in the fucking palm. He's like
in the palm.
yeah, in the palm. Yeah, he's like holding his hands up, and the guy like pokes him with like and I can only imagine it was like one of those Swiss Army bullshit little pin knives, but
Right.
it's like it's like, this is the worst job, man. I've had the hardest time. I'm like, well, you sold a car? He's like, I made $50, man. I made $50.
Man, I'm out here getting poked.
I made $50 in that car.
That wasn't the issue we had with early employees. When you generally, when people get a job selling exotic cars, they make some crazy personal financial decision, and the most common one is to buy a motorcycle. And Georgia is a little bit peculiar in that to get motorcycle insurance, you have to have a motorcycle license, and to get a motorcycle license, you have to take the test. And to take the test, you have to have a motorcycle. So you have to have it before you can insure it.
Yeah, that seems ass backwards.
And they will finance them without you having insurance or a license. So you can get a loan for a non-insured asset and then go through the process and hopefully be able to insure it. And so we had a lot of guys that would come in and literally the first week they buy a motorcycle. And one of the guys' name was Nick, and he was young, just I'm so cool. I'm selling exotic cars. I'm everything I want to be. And so he buys this Victory motorcycle, and I don't know what it's like, $15,000, and finances every dollar of it. As most car salesmen have a tremendous amount of negative equity in their cars. It's a strange thing. Or motorcycles too. And he's never ridden one. Doesn't have any of the steps completed. Doesn't have a license. Doesn't have insurance. Nothing. And so I'm on the phone actually trying to buy a Bugatti for a customer, and it's like a nice kind of fall day. We got the doors all open, and it was getting time to close. And so I hear them outside, and one of the guys that worked at the store that knew how to ride a motorcycle was like, well, I'm going to pull it inside. They had dropped it off to us. Like, he didn't drive it away from the dealership. They came and gave it to him. And so it was in a lot, and he started, it was pulling it in. He's like, hey, I just want to sit on my new motorcycle. And one of the rules of motorcycles is you don't sit on one without a helmet. And if you don't know how to drive one, you don't sit on one while it's running. And, because with a car, like if you don't know what you're doing and you just do nothing, you'll usually slowly roll into whatever's in front of you. With a motorcycle, if you suddenly let go and do nothing, you launch into whatever is in front of you. And so he was probably about 18, 20 feet from the back of a Porsche Panamera. And he obviously just kind of doesn't know what he's doing, tries to make it move, and just drops the clutch and blasts himself into this Panamera and shatters the back glass of it with his face. No helmet or anything, obviously. The motorcycle drags along the side of the Panamera and does a bit of damage to it. And so I hear just screech, bang, crash, boom. And I go out there, and the guy who had kind of let him sit on his motorcycle, that knowing he didn't know how to do it, was like freaking out, trying to pick up the bike. Our sales manager was out there, like noticing all the blood coming out of Nick's face, and he's freaking out. And so I go over there, I kind of grab his face. I'm like, yeah, we're going to have a fun night tonight. And so he comes out, and so fortunately, I don't know, I had like a moving blanket in my car. So I got him in there, and he keeps looking down, and all the blood's just dripping out of his face, all cut up. And so we go up to the emergency room, and there's like little girls with broken arms and stuff like that. And we look like we just came from an axe murderer. And I'm probably the axe murderer because he's the one with all the blood on him. But it was covered in blood. So they get him in immediately. And the first doctor walks in and sees how much blood and how cut up he is, and is like, nope, not doing that. And he goes out and calls another guy. Second dude comes in.
Can you do that as a doctor?
Yeah. I guess they
probably want that. Right?
The second doctor,
because I don't want a doctor that says, hey, I'll give it a go.
I feel like I got it. I got to learn sometime. So,
I've been doing this for 3 months, so I got it.
That's right. That's right. New personal best for stitches. But the third guy was like the stitch guy, because during the time he was putting about 80 stitches in Nick's face, 2 times people came in like needing the stitch guy, and he's like, no, I can't. And he's young, kind of vain, just, freaking out. No, he's never going to look like anything but Leatherface again.
Yeah, there's some scarred up 8-year-old girl somewhere because of this guy's motorcycle.
Yeah. Her arms all,
yeah, the good doctor wasn't available.
I shouldn't have tried the pit bull. I'm to blame. I'll remember every time I try and use peripheral vision or depth perception with my remaining eye.
I just don't know how you put an ear on backwards.
I didn't have two left ears before the pit bull. They grabbed out of the mismatch pile. Anyway, sorry.
They worked on it for 3 hours. It was awful. And I mean, he pulled back a flap of face and an ant walks out that I guess had been on the Porsche. And I was like, Nick, I mean, you got a story from today, but that ant has got really something to tell his friends when he gets back home. But yeah, they got him all stitched up, and I gave him one of my shirts. We go get something to eat. So it's like 2, 3 in the morning. At that
you guys
point.
went to White Castle afterwards or something.
Waffle House.
Steak and shake, absolutely.
Ooh.
And I mean,
Nice.
he's like wrapped up mummy style on his face, and everybody's like, "What in the world?" It was like one of those scenes in a movie where they just finished Fight Club, and like you can tell they're having just a whole different experience than the rest of the guests of the restaurant that night. But no, he was eternally grateful for that. And but the problem was, of course, new employee, no insurance, and no motorcycle insurance to pay medical bills. And so before we leave, they're like, how do you want to pay for this? He's like, well, I don't know. I don't have insurance. And like, we can go speak to our financial counselor. And so we go sit in front of this huge woman that's going to tell us, whatever Nick's going to owe. And she's like, she hands us a bill. It's like $8,500. And he's like, darn it, because he's already got to pay for his total motorcycle over the next like 60 months. And now he's got this huge medical bill that he can't get insurance for. I was like, well, if we walk out of here, I know your collection rates drop pretty fast. So what if we were to pay it right now? And she's like, oh, well, in that case, we could do a pretty big discount. We could probably take like 25% off. I don't know. I mean, it's not convenient to pay it right now. She's like, well, I don't know. What if it was half off? I was like, well, still, that's still $4,000. Man, that's a big Amex bill this month. And she's like, I don't know if I can do any better than that. I said, well, I don't know that I can pay any more than what, I was like, I'll tell you what, I'll give you $800. And she's like, let me see what I can do. She starts fake typing.
Yeah.
And she's like, we'll take it. And
So you got like 92% off.
Yeah. And actually, then I pull out my wallet. I was like, you know what? I've got $500 in cash. And she's like, and then Nick's like, stop.
The Stitch Man needs his payments.
That's right. Yeah.
That is.
I
feel
didn't
like
know. I heard you tell that story.
Oh, yeah.
Like just 4 hours ago, I was listening to you tell that story, and I felt so stupid because all my life I've negotiated everything. Like if I'm kind of aware of the things that are negotiable. I go buy a new living room suit. I'm haggling with this guy. I know he's on commission. I'm like, is there any wiggle room there? He's like, no, and I think you're getting a good deal here. I'm like, well, I don't really think I am. Maybe I'll go to Rooms to Go. And let's see what we can do, and just keep going until they're willing to let you walk out the door. That's kind of my modus operandi on most things. Furniture, cars. My Sirius satellite radio, my car insurance, everything. Like Sirius satellite radio will go from like $50 a month to like $8 a month after about a 30-minute phone call. I had no idea you could negotiate medical bills because I've had to pay some.
I know you could do it. I didn't know you could do it that well. That is what's shocking me, right? When he said $3,000, I'm like, this is hilarious. He's going to meet him in the middle at 31. No, he didn't. He met him at 800 and nearly got 5. That is,
Yeah.
I feel like there are times in my life I should just give Ed a call. Hey, I'm about to spend $8,000. I'll split the difference between what I actually spend with you.
Yeah.
You might spend 15 minutes on the phone earning $1,500. That seems worth it.
A good
consulting gig.
This is a good question from my point in life. My Chrysler 300 is about to die. It's on its last leg, and I'm one of those people where I just drive cars till the end. Like, I'm not a big car person. I don't know that much, and so I'm going to get like a RAV4, a Pathfinder, just some like a Honda CRV, something like that. What are your go-to insider kind of tactics for negotiating as far as cars?
Well, if you start with like TrueCar and some of these like online estimates of like what you can buy a car for now, usually, it varies. Used cars new cars have a markup of anywhere from 5 to 15%, just depending on what incentives exist and stuff like that.
Mine would be used, definitely. And I'm not buying a new car.
Yeah. So that's a little bit harder. Generally, now everything's documented. So if you know anybody that has a dealer's license, they can check Manheim and usually see at least what they would have given on trade, or maybe what they paid for that exact car at an auction. And if you line that up with Carfax or potentially VinWiki, we have a lot of them, then you can see what they actually paid. And then you've got to assume they had some reconditioning costs, maybe put some tires on, paint a bumper, stuff like that. And they don't usually care that much to make much money on the front end. They're going to make a lot of money in finance. And so and they'll have made some money in service. A lot of times that'll have some profit on it. So there's not always that much. But the thing about a car purchase is, especially if you're going to own it for however long, like, people feel this badge of honor for negotiating on a car. But if you're going to own it for 6 months, like I probably would, like, what you pay really matters. If you're going to own it for 6 years, like, paying an extra $500 or $1,000, like, it just washes out. It doesn't really matter. So buy what you want, and don't let the fact that you didn't get exactly the price you had to have to feel good about it interfere with that.
Well, the crux of that is, though, I want a cool story where I can say they asked for $35,000, and I said let's meet in the middle at $5,000. So we haggled, and they were shrewd, so we met in the middle for $7,000.
There you
like
go.
that.
There you
I
go.
want a story like that. I don't think
see,
I'm going to get
a lot of
one,
it's
though, on a used CRV.
See, a lot of it's in how you can deliver it. So even though I told you what to say, if you can't sell it, like, sometimes it doesn't work. Like, I had a friend that was he really wanted a number on a used Sequoia or something over the weekend. So he's like, hey, tell me, master, what do you say? And so I told him what to say, but he's like, when the first text back is, really? That's what I should say. They're not going to sell it. And so he ended up having to pay a little bit more. But that was actually an issue for me on the Cannonball when we did that, because I was trying to find a reason to be speeding across the country, and I had gone to a butcher shop, and I bought 3 pig hearts, and I had some stickers made up that said transcon, transplant, transport, and I had them in a cooler. But the co-driver that I had, I didn't feel I could keep up the ruse. And if you let that down, like, at all,
I would have loved to have been part of that guy.
So
I would have loved to have been part of that gang so much. I'd have been dressed in scrubs, like, please, officer.
You've got your little face mask on. There's not much time.
That's right. See all these clocks and everything? Yeah. No, so we didn't do that. But we didn't get pulled over either, so I guess it wouldn't have mattered.
We have to be in LA by sundown. It's like, well, sir, I'm with the Indiana State Police.
Yeah.
I was going to say that you reminded me of what I was thinking. That boss I had that used to be a bit of a drug dealer. I remember he was 28 years old, running this gigantic car dealership. I remember one day I had pried open the soda machine, and I was robbing it of all the sodas.
Oh my god!
And like the one that was in the car dealership. And he
piece of shit you are.
God, bro! Holy shit! Statute of limitations.
So I was prying open the soda machine.
So I'm over here with this crowbar, fucking this soda machine sideways.
You fucking
at my place of employment.
That's the place I work.
Hang on, let me start over. There was this other guy, this piece of shit. He was robbing a soda machine, and my boss. I saw him, and I was like, "Oh my god,
this asshole!"
No, so the soda man didn't. I don't know how that fucking locking mechanism works. You've seen him twist the thing and unscrew. He didn't screw it all the way in, so I was able to get my way in there, and I'm robbing the machine. And it's right there in the showroom. It's not like I'm hiding this anyway. I'm just I've got an armful of sodas and I'm getting more. And my boss walks out of the bathroom. He goes, "What you doing, Kyle?" And I'm like, "I'm robbing the soda machine."
Not even for the money.
He goes, "That dumbass left it unlocked." I'm like, "Mostly I did the rest." He's like, he starts getting up to it.
Let me get a Mountain Dew. Fuck it.
Me and this 28-year-old millionaire robbed the fucking Pepsi machine. and I know for a fact he took 8 drinks out to his car and put them in it before he came back in. And I just imagined him wiping his prints off the Pepsi machine before he leaves.
He's calling. He's like, "Honey, I've got great news." I got
That
8
soda
Pepsi
machine guy is
Maxes.
definitely
Hey, baby,
fired.
I hope you like Sierra Mist. I'm on the way home right now.
Hey, I got 5 sugar-free Sierra Mist with your name on it, baby.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no.
Hey, it's like Woody in Mexico right now. It's not always about like the money, it's about the thrill. He just wanted to feel the
Yeah.
thrill of doing something
Mhm.
wrong.
No,
like
I,
stealing
soda.
from his own soda machine.
I was 19 years old. I wanted those sodas.
Okay, fair enough.
Well, I would imagine that the boss, I don't think the boss would have been taking a loss from that, huh? It's typically a third
Oh,
party
it has
that's,
nothing to do with him. Like, but
yeah,
it's
it's not
a
his loss at all.
a-
It's going to be that guy that gets blamed, right?
Well, don't say that. It's a corporate store. don't make it seem like
No,
we fucked
Victor.
over a little man or something like that. I'm sure
No,
someone else
no,
made
Victor,
it right.
nothing
You know, no, we didn't
Yeah,
steal
let's
sodas
just
from a-
hope.
from a private entrepreneurial.
Was
soda
it
shop.
a
That
was
didn't
it a
happen.
good soda machine? Like, were you getting Sprite, Coke, Dr Pepper, or was it like
Or was it
I
Sierra
remember-
Mist, Mr.
Yellow
Pibb?
Mellow, you and Pib?
I remember that it was Pepsi. That's all I remember. That it was a Pepsi machine.
Rip.
So I don't remember what was in
That's
there.
not that bad. I like Diet
We had a
Pepsi
Red
more than
Bull-
Diet
I don't
Coke.
like Pepsi.
We had a nice showroom. We had like a really nice espresso machine and like a Red Bull machine and the Pepsi machines and like really nice snack machines that had like cool shit in them. They wanted people to stay in the showroom. Again, like the only real job, like corporate-ish job I've worked was working with AutoNation, right? Selling cars. And like there was a day when they brought in like the hot shot salesman to like teach us what's what. Like the guy who had sold so much that now he made more money teaching people how to sell. And I'm always like,
All the best
skeptical of
salesmen
that.
teach people how to sell.
it's like, dude, if you are actually selling 30 cars a month, then what must they be paying you to show up here today?
Mhm.
Like, if they're not paying you $50,000 to come talk to us today, then you are wasting your time because you're a guy who's literally telling us that you make $3,000 to $5,000 a day.
Mhm.
Like you make $3,000 to $5,000 a day selling fucking cars with no overhead. You don't own that desk. You can come into any dealership, sit down at their desk, sell their fucking stuff. All you need is your suit and tie, and you can make $3,000 to $5,000 a day. But you're here talking to us, teaching us a mnemonic device. It's just like that episode of The Office where like Michael Scott is teaching the mnemonic devices to remember customers' names. He did that. And I'm just like, bro,
Just remember their name.
I've got a planner. Like I've got a planner on my desk. Like I've got one of those big calendars that like is your whole desk. You know, I've got everybody's names written down. Like I've got a book with like I was organized, right? I'm every day I have my calls to make, and I'm calling these. Hey, Barbara, how's Mike doing? Look, we talked about that Honda Pilot last month. I know that didn't work out. We got a brand new one in, and like this one has fewer miles. This one's a different color. Like maybe you want to come take a look. I'm doing that every day. You're just wasting my time. But there was Popeyes after, so I wasn't too mad.
That was enough to keep. We were young enough. for that
Popeyes was all it took. At
tantalizing.
19, free Popeyes was enough. At night, but like there were 40, 45. I always
He's
talk
now a
about this.
Chick-fil-A man. He's advanced since then.
Yeah, we're way above. It was free Popeyes, and it was like, but like back then, it would be like, again, I was 19 with like, I got no family. My rent was like, I was in a 3-bedroom apartment with like 2 other guys, and my share of the rent was like $350 or something like that. My car payment was $380. So as long as I can come up with like $800 a month, like I'm golden. And like that's pretty easy selling cars if you're decent at it. Like I don't want to brag, but I was pretty fucking good at it. Like I made a lot of money. Like as long as I was mentally sound, like I went through a breakup, and that was. but like when I was killing it, I was making thousands and thousands of dollars
Were
a
they
month.
Fords you sold?
New Fords used everything, and that's when you made money. Like I didn't want to sell a new Ford fucking Mustang or something like that. You'd end up making like $100, $200, but you could sell like a used F-150 Excursion, Volvo, Nissan, and you could literally make like $3,000 to $4,000 on one car.
Damn.
You know, there's so much. Yeah, my cut. Like I sold an Excursion once and made like upwards of $2,000 on that one car deal, because I was like, when someone would come in to buy that used Excursion, I had 2 different customers looking at it, and one of them I told, actually, I'll take the back. I took it in on trade and then I sold it. So when I took it in on trade, I was like, "Look, sir, they don't make these anymore for a reason. Hurricane Katrina just happened. Gasoline is $4 to $5 a gallon. You know what kind of gas mileage this thing gets. It's getting 8 to 10 miles a gallon, right? and we're in the city, right?
Mhm.
That's that. You know,
Doesn't
I
make
can
any
only.
sense.
Later
can
that
only give-
day, you can't get these anymore. This is this is
Then
your
I'm
last
selling it.
opportunity.
Then I'm selling it, and I'm like, same pitch, just different tone. They don't make these anymore. This is the largest SUV a man has ever even fucking conceived of. Look at that. Did you know that you can park a small car in the back of an excursion SUV? Because you can't. You actually can't. It's that fucking big. It's the largest SUV ever made.
My brother
And,
had one for ages, a diesel one.
Absurd. Yeah, this was a gasoline one. They came with the diesel and the gasoline. You probably want the diesel because I think the gasoline was I want to say a V10, but that's probably wrong. It's been so long. In any case, it was like, this is the gasoline one too. You don't have to be smelling like diesel, as if you would smell like diesel because you put diesel in your excursion, right?
Right, you don't smell like gasoline.
I took it in so low and sold it so high. It was like a $12,000 profit. And so like I get like a high percentage of that. I don't remember how many cars I sold that month, but it was at least 20 and maybe 25 plus percentage on $12,000, which is pretty fucking good. So
Yeah.
at least $2,000, maybe $2,500 to $2,600 profit that I got from
That's a
selling that
week's
fucking
pay
car.
in a lot of jobs. Like good.
Yeah, like when you get one of those, you're fucking popping the champagne as a 19-year-old. You're just like looking at everybody like, who's the man? I'm the man. You're like everybody's like, yo, you saw the excursion? I'm like, yep. You knocked their fucking head off? Clean off, motherfucker. Clean off. It's over there in the bathroom right now. You want to go play soccer? Because their head is gone. You know, you're so happy.
You got
I
Popeye's
had a
money now.
bad car. So I'm looking to buy a car. I'm young. Call me 18 or 17 or something like that. And I was like, I don't know. Like I'm at a Dodge dealership. So I'm thinking about like either a new Neon or a used Stratus. And he's like, huh? What? Like those cars don't compete with each other. And in my head, I'm like, they're the same price. A new Neon and a used Dodge Stratus go for about the same amount. And he made me feel stupid, like I was wrong in what I was looking at. I didn't know what I was doing. And I still look, every car that's the same price competes with each other. Suck a dick. That's how life works. Don't tell me they're like different categories. They're $15,000 category. That's the category that they're in. And I walked away. I didn't buy it. But I look back. I'm like, you just suck at your job. Why would you make your customer feel dumb like that? He's trying to buy from you.
So there was one guy who came to work at the dealership. His name was Mitty, M-I-T-I. He was from the same place as the water, Fiji, like the actual place. And he wouldn't tell us his last name ever. Because he thought we'd mispronounce it, and like he wasn't interested in teaching us his name, and that pissed me off. Because it's like, well, you don't think I'm fucking capable of pronouncing your name? You're gonna work here with me 78 hours a week, and I can't fucking learn your name? Fuck you. So I already didn't like Mitty. I felt like his wife was a doctor, and she was the real breadwinner of the family, and I felt like Mitty just had a chip on his shoulder because of that, and he was always just a little shithead. He's like 50 years old, and I'm 19. Keep that in mind. But we're coworkers, and his English is very abrupt and sharp, and Mitty is quick to learn, but is not going well. And so I call Mitty from an inside line. I got like 3 or 4 of my buddies around me. I got Austin, my friend from Nigeria, this big black guy. I got my friend Saul from Lithuania. He's a skinny white guy that I ended up being roommates with. And I got Francisco, who's from fucking Mexico City, and he'd giggle like a schoolgirl. He's like 60 years old at the time. And so I call him up on his line. I see Mitty answer the phone. That's the best part, when you can physically get to see him engage with you. And it's like, you get to do that. And I put on my gay voice, which is, it's a bit insulting. I won't do it now. Just stereotypical lispy gay voice. Hi there. How are you doing? I'd like to buy an F-150. Oh, absolutely. Well, I'll buy all the options, sweetie. So it just went on and on like that. Basically like pumping this guy up. Like, yeah, I'm ready to come in now. When I buy a car, I buy a car. I'm like taking any of his fears away. I'm letting him know I'm a customer. I'm coming in today. This is more of an appointment I'm setting up. You don't have to wine and dine me. I'm easy to bed here. I'm getting that across to him 100%. And then I drop the dime on him. I'm like, all right, but here's the thing. Every time I buy a car, I like to take a little something from the salesman. One guy took his tie. One guy took one of his socks. It was silly. I took another guy's belt when I bought a nice Camaro one year. with you, Mitty, I got to ask you, could you do something like that?
Oh, yes, absolutely. You come and buy the car today, we make a deal.
Oh, okay, wonderful. Mitty, I got to ask, boxers or briefs? And it's just quiet. And you can see he's over there, oh. And we're all just like fucking schoolgirls laughing our asses off. I'm like, shh, let's hear. He's fucking,
briefs.
I'm like, well, I'll tell you what. I'll be there in 35 minutes, Mitty. I've got my brother. He's bringing me down. That way he can take my car home. I'm keeping it, but I want that F-150. So if he can get it brought around, I'll pay whatever the sticker price is. That's how I do business. No muff, no fuss. And I'm going to need that underwear in hand when I get there. And he agrees to it. Everything's sold. He walks past us to the bathroom to take off his underwear. And that's when we let him have it. He turned redder than any Asian man has ever turned. Like, he was so humiliated in a way that you can only humiliate an Asian man. Like a white guy could have shook this off, but not him. It was like I fucking chipped away at generations of honor. And we're in this face-off where I'm 6'2" of me in my like business in my like suit shoes or whatever. They're kind of lifted on the bottom. And he's all of like 5'5", and he fucking does this underhanded karate punch like this and punches me in the stomach. And I'm certainly not Bruce Wayne or anything, but if I see somebody going to hit me in the stomach, I had enough like locker room bouts in high school to like tighten up really quick, and it didn't hurt at all. And I was just like, "The fuck's your problem, Mitty?" And I just pushed him. And when I pushed him, we were kind of up on this like raised platform, so he stumbles backwards and falls on some desk. And there's the general manager right there. CJ Turner just walked in, and he just saw me push this old guy down some stairs. He's like, "Kyle, what you doing, Kyle? You my soldier, Kyle. What you doing starting fights in the showroom floor?"
Kyle's the assassin.
I was. You my assassin. Not like this. Chris Tucker or something. And I'm like, whoa, let me explain. And I very quickly explained to him what had just happened, and he's just like, and then I didn't think it was possible. He turned even redder. Mitty turned even redder. And he never spoke to me again. Never looked at me again. Like ever. That was the last time we ever had any sort of back and forth or even like eye contact from that day forward. He worked there for like another 10 months or something.
That was really, really fucking funny.
That was the Mitty prank.
But that is also really, really mean. Because this isn't just like a prank where you're like doing something with their tea or something where it's like, oh, there's not as much sweetener as you anticipated.
Yeah, I put salt in your water.
Yeah, it's something where it's like he's sitting there like, oh my God, I can sell this car. My wife, she can get a new dress. We'll be able to go out this month. My kids, they can buy. I'll be able to get the N64. I'll be the hero that they want me to be. And then it's some little shit-eating punk sitting across the way, giving you a shit. Oh Lord. Man, the way you described this sounds like it was Animal House in the showroom. Like, what were customers doing as you were berating Asian men for,
See, that's the
taking
thing.
underwear off?
It's only busy at certain times. We're doing this because there's nothing else to do.
Why
there
are you
no
working
customers.
so many hours then? You said you have to work tons of hours. Can't you just cherry pick the good ones?
No, you got to be there in case somebody strolls in. Because if somebody walks in at a weird time, it might be because they took off work.
It seems like
by the car.
You
gotta
could work 20% of the hours and make 80% of the money.
You're like a fishnet. It's
all a numbers game. Like
it's a numbers game. Like on Saturday afternoon, that's when you're going to be able to see a lot more people, but that doesn't mean you can call in on Tuesday. You got to be there Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. It's a grind. You got to be that net in the ocean waiting on, because the contacts you make on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, those are some of your guaranteed sales on Saturday. Those are the guys who come back and actually do buy. That's how it works. I don't know how else to put it. It's if you don't put in all those crazy hours, it just doesn't seem productive.
If I sold 12 cars a month, I was swimming in cash. I had so much money as a 19-year-old. It was just so much extra money because I had no bills. It was just free money. Mm-hmm. Rich had a family. he had wife and like 2 kids, and he had like gotten fired from like a real job. Like I don't know what he did before, but he had all of his old suits from his old job, and like he'd come in there with his hair all slicked back and the dark circles that got darker every day under his eyes, and his suits that got more and more wrinkled by the
don't
day.
respect me, eyes.
Picture Gil. Was it Gil from The Simpsons?
Yes, it's Gil from The Simpsons. Oh, Gil's gonna get him this time.
Oh, Gil, this is the day where you're going to bring it home. Shelly's been telling you, Cheryl, or whoever's been telling you for so long that it's not going to work.
Oh,
you're going to get
sell a car
together
today,
now, Gil.
You're going to sell a car today, and Kyle's not going to steal your chair. Wrong on both counts, Rich. Wrong on both counts. You ain't selling shit, and I'm stealing your car because I'm 19 years old. I don't give a fuck.
My favorite people in the world are comedians, and my least favorite people in the world are comedians. I would still rather talk to those least favorite people in the world than like someone who can't fucking tell a story.
This motherfucker was about to sell a car one day. Well, maybe not. He was at the point of a car sale where you have a customer sitting at your desk. You are going back and forth to a manager with the numbers, right? They're like, I don't think I want to pay that, but I would pay this. And he's like, well, hell, I'll go see what the manager says. And he's like walking back over with the papers. So while he's doing that, I'm watching discreetly from my desk with my best buddy. And I'm like, watch this shit. And so I sort of walk over to his desk, and our desks aren't in like offices. They're in like a big common space. And and the customers are a bit distracted. They're looking at an SUV that's behind them. You know, we're in a showroom, so there's cars parked all around us. So they're kind of looking back at, I think maybe even the car they were thinking about buying. And when they do, I just casually walk by, grab his fucking office chair, the salesman, and leave with it. And I don't just put it behind the next desk. I fucking leave with it. It's gone. It's on the other end of the showroom behind a fucking Honda or some shit. And
You're
then
such an asshole.
it's gone. So now he comes back to his desk and he's like, well, I got some, where the fuck is my chair? And you can tell he's just so awkward because he doesn't have a chair now, but he wants to present these numbers. You can tell he's been thinking about what he's going to say when he gets back to this desk. He's got it. I'll say this.
Oh,
and
this
that,
poor
bada boom,
guy.
bada bing. And now this massive wrench has been thrown into the works. That is the fact that he doesn't have a fucking chair. He can't even sit with them. So he just awkwardly stands there, sort of leaning on the desk, and we're just watching, just melting down, laughing our asses off because he didn't belong there.
This is the guy with all the kids that you're fucking with?
Yeah.
Kyle.
Those hungry kids.
Kyle, do you know how he eventually killed himself? Or you
Yeah.
never did?
Yeah, it was pills.
My God.
It's sad.
Some carbon monoxide
Nah, he
poisoning
didn't
from
kill
some
himself.
car he couldn't
It's
sell.
still
No.
sad. It's like
No.
he didn't.
Well, we had to push him out, you know, like it's like I don't know what to describe it as. You know, it's like we're in the ocean and everybody's sort of kicking and treading water for survival, and we've only got 8 gallons of water because that's all Mom put in the boat. And you just look over there and you're like, that guy is really having a hard time treading water.
You should check under the stairs. There might be more water.
I think that maybe if he were to die today, we'd all have more water, and maybe the Coast Guard finds us. And that was the situation with Rich. There was only so much water.
So if I
which is
understand
custom-
this right, you're 19. You have so much money, more than you know what to do with. You're so fabulously rich.
I'm just buying paintball stuff. every weekend that I don't have time to use.
So
Yeah.
what you should do is bully this poor guy with a wife and children who's having a hard time. He's at a real low point in his life, so
Yeah.
that you can have more Coast Guard water or something.
That's exactly what we did. And he was moved from sales, quote unquote. He was actually told that he was not going to be selling cars anymore because he couldn't sell cars. He was never going to be able to sell cars. He was wasting his time there and just prolonging the slow death that is a bad car salesman's life. And so they moved him to like this internet department. So then he worked for us as like a secretary, which was much better. Now he would like butter customers up over the internet, and then he would come to someone like me and he's like, all right, Kyle, this guy's coming in to look at this truck. He can do this, this, and that. And then I'd sell him a fucking car because I can do that. And he just couldn't do it. He was never going to make it. We were putting him out of his misery while entertaining ourselves because we were working fucking 80 hours a week.
Woody, I think what you missed in the story, the moral of the story is that Kyle's a hero.
Yeah, there's an act of kindness where he saved this guy from making more money.
I saved lots of people from making more money, and yeah, absolutely. No, he wasn't gonna sell him a car because he couldn't sell him a car. What he was doing was wasting water. He was wasting customers, and we all hated that. Like you're not gonna sell every customer a car, but there's a percentage of failure at which point you're just like, dude's just dribbling it all. Remember when Frodo? I hope Taylor's here in this part. Remember when Frodo and Sam are climbing up the fucking mountain of doom at the end, and
don't spoil it.
And Frodo's out of fucking water, and Sam's like, "Here, have some of mine." And Frodo grabs Sam's water, and he like spills it all down his chin. He's wasted a huge amount of the few drops they have left. That was Rich. Rich needed to go, and so we got rid of him. And we did that to lots of people. If somebody came in and they were good at car sales, we couldn't fuck them up. If I took a good salesman's fucking chair, he'd have come in there like the Fonz and like slid on the desk or something, or he'd have told them all to come with him. Rich had a meltdown by the end of that day. Like he got pissed. He got all red faced. Like, oh, where's my chair? People are taking my chair. Get out of here, Rich. Go back to the BBC.
I gotta say, Kyle, I wasn't on your side until the Lord of the Rings analogy, and now I get it.
Yeah, now you understand.
Didn't understand it then, but now I get it.
Circle of life. There's only so much water. There's 25 fucking people drinking out of it. They add a 26th person. And if that person can't fucking drink without dribbling it down their chin, we don't want them there.
It doesn't matter that Kyle had more water than he knew what to do with.
I earned every drop of it.
When I bought a car, the salesman, like I had walked in going, here's the car that I want. I saw that it's on your lot. I'd like to buy it. And they're like, do you want to test drive it? I'm like, I've driven one before. I'm sure it's fine. I'd like to get in and out of here as quickly as possible. They already had the sale. Just happened to be the person who I was talking to is the one who gets the sale.
Yeah.
And like, I'm sitting there and it is, by the way, I walked in right before closing. So there's no reason for another customer to be coming in after me when I've already been at the desk for 20 minutes. So someone walks in with what looks like an empty envelope, dressed the same as all the other salespeople. And the woman who's trying to sell me the car just like, oh, hey, Dave, good to see you. What are you doing here? And he goes, just paying for the Prius. That's what I was buying as well. He was just paying for the Prius. And she goes, well, how do you like it? He goes, well, what I feel doesn't matter. My friends are all jealous. And isn't that the point?
Oh,
I just look at her. And I'm
friends
just like,
are all jealous of his Prius.
It's a setup.
Yeah,
they're fucking selling a boy.
Yeah. And I just say to her and I go, I'm already buying the car. What are you trying to do? She's like, whatever are you talking about? I was like, that guy he's going to another day. You know what? Fine, forget about it. So then when I was with the finance guy afterward, I asked him, I just go, hey, how do the commissions work with the sales here? Like, do you get any of it? And he goes, if I help sell the car, yeah. I go, so if you help sell this car, you get like half the commission? And he goes, yeah. And I go, put down that you're the reason I bought the car.
Smart.
Because I was just like, fuck that asshole. Like I was already buying it. That stupid community theater bullshit she tried to pull on me. Not that stupid. So it cost her whatever, $1,000 or whatever the hell the commission was.
Whew, good.
And the finance guy was very pleased with how that went down.
It wasn't $1,000, but it cost her money. That's good. That's good.
Yeah, he was a nice guy.
I like pettiness as well. So that's.
I love that they had a ringer come in. I love the Prius. I can't wait to get going. 0 to 60 in a minute and a half. Count me in.
Yeah. This car goes 0 to 60 in theory.
They were selling.
I'm sure he was just like a couple decimals down.
They were trying to sell me some additional warranty, and my philosophy on these is that if it was a good deal for me, then you wouldn't sell it to me. Right, that's the thought. Obviously, they've worked out that if I pay an extra $1,000 a year on this thing, I probably get less than $1,000 a year in repairs, and that's why they're selling it to me. That's what's in my head. So he's laying it out, and I listen to him politely, but like obviously I'm waiting for it to end. And no, so he goes to a cheaper option, and we go through a couple of them, and I'm like, dude, like I lay it out there. This isn't happening. And he's like, well, if you're not going anywhere, at least get there fast. And he skipped to the end, and we signed the papers. I loved it.
Yeah,
It was a good line.
it is a good deal a lot of the times, because what they've actually factored in is over the course of all of our customers, how many will actually have X, Y, and Z issue that costs 1, 2, and 3, multiplied by how many customers will actually remember they have a warranty and use it, minus what you're paying times X amount of customers. Like we sold this thing called permaplate, which didn't even exist, which was supposed to be like a fabric, coating that repelled stains and liquids. And
It was supposed to be a fabric coating.
yeah, like we had these swatches of fabric that had been treated with a thing called permaplate, and you could pour like fucking Coca-Cola on these like cloth seats, and it would just roll off like water, like it was glass. Pretty cool, I guess. If you got kids, especially, and you've got cloth seats. But we and also in the paint, it was supposed to prevent like sun damage, UV damage, and fading and all that bullshit. But the thing is, we didn't actually put it on the cars, like ever, like because I remember it was $700. It was $700 to have permaplate applied to your car, and I remember asking a manager once. I was like, so do all the cars already have it on them, and then we just try to sell it? Or do they apply it if we sell it? Because it's an addition thing that I would sell as a salesman, like during the car sale. It wasn't the finance shit that happens with the warranties. It was before that. And he's like, yeah, something like that. And I was like, what? Well, it's either one or the other. Either it's on them all already, or it's on none of them already, and they're gonna put it on. He's like,
there is a third option.
It's really about peace of
they
mind.
put it on nothing.
They're like, what do you mean it's about peace of mind? He's like, well, you get a warranty when you buy the permaplate, and if you get a stain, then we fix the seat. I was like, okay, all right, but
There's a good little bit of advice. If a salesman says that it's for your peace of mind, you don't need it.
what it was
Guaranteed.
Look, the thing was, I could sell permaplate for $100 or $110. I would just make numbers up sometimes. I've sold it for $1,000 before. Like just making the numbers up as I went along. Just sell it for whatever, and they'd be like, sure, whatever. Fuck it. Oh, $100 permaplate? Yeah, just write it up. Let's go. Because it's just extra. And what you were actually buying was a warranty. There was no coating on your car. Your seats are regular fucking seats, but you just bought a warranty that says if your seats ever fucking get stained, they'll replace them bitches. It was a huge value when you got to the bottom of it, because no one, and I mean no one, ever came back in and said, I've got a stain on my seat. They never did it once. I've never heard of it. No one ever saw it happen. It never occurred. No, everybody forgets.
Oh, you mean it was a huge value for you as a salesperson?
No. For you as a customer. If I were selling that car to my best friend in the world, I'd be like, let's get the permaplate on there, get it on the contract. Let's just do it, make it $100 or $200 if we can. But if you've got to pay $700 for this, let's do it. Because if you ever fucking get a stain on your seat, they're not just going to massage the stain out. They have to replace that motherfucker. They have to they have to refabric your whole seat.
What I'm getting out of this is you would have upcharged your hypothetical best friend.
I'd have sold my best friend
$200.
I'd have sold my best friend one of the most fantastic warranties in existence on the planet that allows them at any time for like
Man,
5
you really
years.
put into the bullshit, didn't you?